Hey guys, this is Carl, and this is AMBA 600 MBA Fundamentals Stat 689 Excel and Statistics Tutoring Form. And in this video, we're going to particularly go over basic statistical functions, specifically descriptive statistics and frequencies. So just getting started, giving you a brief overview. Descriptive stats, what is it? Numbers used to summarize and describe data. And the word data relates to information collected from an experiment, survey, or historical record. And we're going to go over some frequencies similar to the pivot table that we've completed in the previous video, but just kind of other options to do. And I want to make it perfectly clear that when you deal with descriptive statistics, you're dealing with numeric data, nothing with characters, words, those kinds of things. You're dealing specifically with numeric data. So we're going to jump right into our Excel file. As you can see here, so when we want to do descriptive stats, one of the first things is I see order quantity and sales. So we're going to pick those two because those two are numeric values. And what does that mean? Obviously, it's numbers and not characters, such as these right here. So we're going to go into our data tab, remember our data tab, and we're going to go to data analysis. We're going to go to descriptive stats. So we're going to go OK. And I've already highlighted this piece, but remember, we cannot have any kind of characters or words. So we only want these two columns which have numeric data. And right here what we'll see, well, we already know that it contains 8400. So we got this piece right here. Group by columns or rows. Columns because why? Because each column represents one variable. It's very important. And right here, summary stats. You can also do the confidence intervals. And what does that mean? We'll do it in subsequent videos, but the confidence interval is the percentage, the probability that the mean falls within a respective range. So, and 95% is the confidence level. So we'll get into a little bit more as we move forward, but I want to give you just a very brief sense of descriptive stats and what happens and what does this function produce. And also, don't forget that the label is in the first row. It's very important so that when you have your output, it will actually kind of break it down by the categories. It'll be easier to understand and process. So we have all the information we need, and we have it inserted. So we click OK, and then now it takes us to our descriptive stats for those two variables. And as you can see, these are our two variables right here, sales and order quantity. And these are descriptive stats. The mean, or the average, is 25 for quantity. That means that on average in this population, or in this data set of orders, the average was 25. For sales, each sale averaged about $1,700. That's pretty good, actually. The most frequently occurring order was 31. Mode, for sales, was $224. Standard deviation, that means how many deviations from the mean kind of captures. So you can kind of see. And then kurtosis is the level of skewness. And what is skewness? And we'll explain a little bit more when you're talking about descriptive stats. But essentially it relates to, so if you plotted all of these points, if you plotted this variable rather, on a graph, and you see almost like a bell curve, the kurtosis is the level of that bell curve skewed left or skewed right, meaning that it's not normally distributed. And what's normally distributed means that it's kind of equidistant. Both sides are kind of equidistant from each other. The normal bell curve, as it's referred to, and this we'll explain in subsequent videos. And the range is 49. It means the highest and lowest difference is 49. And then with respect to sales, it's 89,000. So this is between the highest and lowest values of sales. It's an $89,000 difference. The min, it's obvious, and the minimum order was 1, minimum sale was 224, and the max was 50, and that sale was 89,000. So it's pretty interesting when you get down here in terms of the counts, and this is a good check too when you think counts to make sure that your variables are matching up. So going back to our basic stats, doing frequencies now. So now that we know kind of generally, the average order, the average sales, the skewness, we know the most frequently occurring order, and the most frequently occurring sale. Now we want to know, okay, what's the general frequency? So if we can test that. So we're going to test the mode out to see. The frequency is just that, spelled like it is, frequency. We're going to do column E. Frequency, the E, and we already know E 8400. Actually, what we can do, and one of the trickiest things to do, is the array function. So we're going to do one bin. We're going to do bin 5 orders, 10 orders, 15 orders, 20 orders, 25 orders. So we're just going to play around with this a little bit. So we're going to do a frequency function. We're going to do this order quantity right here. As you can see, E, I'm going to make sure we get all the orders, so it's E 8400. And the bins, these are the bins. And what are the bins? They're the categories, almost like a histogram. Each bin represents up to that particular value. So a bin of 5 means that all orders 5 or less. A bin of 10 is all orders between 5 and 10, and so on. So our bins are here. You'll notice it gives us 868 based on these categories. And if we scroll down, we get these values. Now this looks correct, but actually if you think about it, there's something missing here, because the bins aren't really capturing what they should be capturing. So in the array function, which makes sure that these are correct, we highlight up here, and we do Control Shift Enter in the same way that you do Control Alt Delete. So when you do Control Shift Enter, you can see what changed. You can see this changed, and you can see this changed. Now there's brackets. And this really, it's a key point to make when you're thinking about an array function, that it's part of the frequencies. It's how Excel does frequencies in this particular function with large data sets, such as this one with 8,400 records. So what this now means is that up to 5, it's 866 orders have 5 or less. 847 orders have 10 or less, and so on and so forth. So it gives you a sense in terms of the frequencies. And how come this doesn't add up to 84 is because there's certainly, as you can tell here, there's orders that have much more than just 25. I just want to give you a sense of the frequencies in that case. And remember, with the array function, we'll have additional guidance coming up on that, but also just to give you a sense of just how does a frequency, quote-unquote, work in Excel. In addition to the pivot table function, now, just a reminder, you can do some of this with the pivot table to give you kind of a sense of the categories, but you can't do an array function. Pivot table just allows you to organize the data, subset the data into smaller sets, and provide a summary level. But it can't necessarily give you a frequency to this effect. So, and the pivot table being is insert right here. But this is just an initial introduction of the descriptive stats and initial introduction of the frequency, just to help your understanding of the concepts and how they apply in the cell, but also understanding conceptually what does that mean. So we hope this helps. Just let us know if you have any other questions along the way. All right, thanks so much. Bye.